Welcome back, anybody. I recently got a laser from my Wood-Mizer LT40, and I thought you might be interested in watching a video on how I installed it and wired it, and maybe not. If you're not interested, bail now. If you are interested, stick around, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. First thing I need to do is make sure that the bunks and everything are nice and level, because I want to make sure that this is as perfect as I can get it. So. Side to side, we are pretty darn close, but not close enough. So I'm going to jack up the mill a little bit on the one side. Okay, we're good there. Now back to front and front to back. And we got to go up a little bit. Okay, we're good there. And what I'm using is a Bosch brand self-leveling laser. I don't want to say that it's cheap and dirty, but it's not an expensive unit. So I'm just going to raise it until the laser is on the saw blade. Right there, there's the saw blade. You might even be able to see the little red sparklies on it. I don't know. Okay, this is the mounting bracket that came with, that I bought. It doesn't come with the laser. Laser doesn't come with this. You have to pay extra for it. It's about $18, $20 American. This is a Canadian company. They're actually in Quebec. This is not a very strong bracket, but it's going to be good enough for what I want to do. I need to keep away from here because that's the wheel guide. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this bracket on here, and there's a set screw right there in the center of the extruded metal or the machined support. And I'll try to edit that out. Anyway, I've got the laser right through the middle of that set screw, which should get me pretty well centered. So I'm just going to hold that there, and I've got a marker, and I'm already screwing it up. There we go. So now I've got two marks there. Now this thing can pivot and everything else, which I'll do later. So I'm going to drill a couple holes in there. I'll probably use, I'm guessing, probably an 832 screw. So bear with me. It's easier with sharp. Put the first unit in here. I had to drill out the hole or the slot a little bit to accept the screw, which I did that off camera. That's one of the joys of getting old. You do all kinds of stupid things. Okay. Got that in there. One of the two lock washers I've got now, we'll put that on. There we go. Now let's turn the laser back on. Make sure everything is okay. And we're good on the blade. Pivot this a little bit. We're right centered on the set screw. So we'll carefully tighten this thing down. All right, we're good. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but let's move you. Apologize for that. There we go. So this thing is ready to go. I have a feeling that this is going to be replaced sometime in the future, hopefully not the near future, because I just don't think it's going to be a strong enough support. And I may end up having to put some kind of a protective guard around it. At any rate, let's get the electrical part done, which I am going to look at my clock here, 9 o'clock. Here's a graphic representation of wiring of the laser. Inside the control head, where 12 volts is coming from, we're going to put in this fuse. This fuse is going to protect the rest of the circuit so that we don't have any major issues. That's going to go over to a toggle switch, which is mounted on the control panel, control station. This happens to be one I had laying around. It's a cheap one, and I recommend that, since even a good one is not that expensive, spring for a little extra money and buy a high quality toggle switch. Now this is going to send 12 volts over to this unit right here. This is a 12 volt to 3 volt DC converter, 12 volts in here and 3 volts DC out. That's going to connect to this sensor cable, which will then get the power out to the laser, which is right here. That laser requires between 3 and 5 volts DC. On the operator control station, what's really cool about the Wood-Mizer LT40, I don't know if it's on other ones, I already have a location right here for the laser. And on top of all of that, behind this plastic overlay, there's already a hole in the steel, so all I have to do is kind of pop a hole in the plastic, which will be very easy, mount my toggle switch, and Bob's your uncle. Before I get started with anything electrical, I'm going to disconnect the battery. I'm going to do the positive terminal simply because it's got a single wire on it and less monkeying around. Okay, time to put in the toggle switch. Here's my fuse right here, and it goes down to a 15 amp circuit breaker down below that was left open. No idea what it's for, and I really don't care at this point. It's just easy access to 12 volts. So we're going to get these wires stripped, and I'll get my ring terminals put on. This wire here goes down to the DC to DC converter, where we're taking our 12 volts and dropping it down to 3 volts. Okay. There we go. And my notch goes on the bottom, and we put that through the hole there. And we've got a rubber boot on here to make it as close to weather tight as possible. All right, that should do that. So I'm going to put this back in, oops, I'm not going to put this back in place. This is the DC to DC converter right there, so we're going to push that in the back. Okay, so got that down there. And let's get everything pushed back inside. Okay, we have our laser switch on. Now we have to do the rest of the wiring. I'm going to need to drill a hole in here to put in temporarily just the cable. And later on I'm going to be getting a bulkhead fitting for this. So let's get the hole in here and keep moving on. So we're going to put in a larger hole, just to get the cable through temporarily, and see what happens. And yes, I know this is crude, but again, it's only temporary. Now with the sensor cables I'm using, they are 2, 3, 4, 5 conductor on the cable. The blue and the brown are the DC, brown being the positive and blue being negative or DC common. So I've cut off the two that I don't need, and these are standard, so that the blue, I believe, is pin number 3, the brown is pin number 1, and it should match all the way through. So when I put this in like that, and I plug that into there, I should be able to get my DC voltage out the other end of this cable and get it connected and whatever to the laser. So let's get started on this. Now, since there's a chance that that cable could be pulled out, we're going to put a tie wrap around the inside just to keep it from being pulled out. Well, that'll help a little bit. It won't be perfect, but it's better than not having anything at all. Okay, moving on. I forgot to show the connection between the cable and the DC converter. The brown and blue on the cable go to the DC output of the converter, and you have to make sure the polarity is correct. And I don't remember which color goes which, but it'll be marked on the converter itself. Okay, we've got our temporary connection over here. This cable comes out here. We've got a sensor cable plugged in here. Sensor cable goes over to our main control bundle, which goes up here inside the saw head. And I got the cable up here. I just run it across the top, goes down the back over there, down over there, out the bottom, along over here. It gets connected into the laser right there. So let's get started on getting this thing leveled and turned on and adjusted and all that. So let's put it back together and see what we can do with the little bit of adjustment that's available. And if you don't know this already, these are all metric screws that are part of the laser itself. So plan on having metric Allen wrenches. As an FYI, the saw blade is exactly at 6 inches, and those two black marks are also at exactly 6 inches above the bunks. And if I haven't told you yet, this is not rocket science. This is not building a watch. So if I can be close to where I want to be, that's all I really care about. I'm not looking for this thing to be accurate to within a few thousandths of an inch over 20 feet. So if we're close enough, then we are close enough. Here's the data on the Apinex laser that I used. I'll leave a link below in the description to their website. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video was helpful. Please consider liking and subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.